Hey guys, welcome to today's video. So we're down at Primal Fitness. My good friend Grivo has allowed us to come and use his gym, which is a perfect private space to record. So the topic of today's video has changed a little bit. I've hurt my back, so I'm managing that, and we thought it would be a good opportunity to talk about exactly that. How do you manage injuries? How do you work around them? I get asked this all the time, and I know it's something that a lot of you struggle with. So I'm going to take you through the workout that I'm going to do today that allows my back not being great. We'll talk about ways that you could allow for different injuries that you might be suffering with, and we're going to tag on a little Q&A at the end where I can answer a lot of the questions that you guys asked when I put it out on my social media last week. So let's get into it. So I'm going to start this workout in the same way that I would any normal workout, hit my warm-up. So the warm-up is going to have 3 distinct sections. I'm going to release tight areas, I'm going to get my body moving and do some activation exercises. It's just that I'm going to do exercises that are more kind of targeted on getting my back moving well. So I'll take you through it now. This is a great exercise. It's a rear foot elevated split squat, which is a brilliant exercise for your legs, but people find it really infuriating because they start losing their balance. So people will do it like this with their back foot back. They spend the whole time wobbling. So I'm deliberately set up in a cage. I find this is a really good way of doing it because you can hold on to something. You're not kind of gripping it, you're just using it for guidance. So you take a hold with your right arm and your right leg is forward in line with that. You put your back foot onto the bench, and from here we're just dropping down, so we're targeting our quads and driving up. And you can take a hold of a dumbbell if you want to add a bit of weight. I'm just going to do body weight on this first round, so dropping in and driving up. Nice and controlled down. Switching legs, so take a hold with your other hand. Left foot forwards, right foot back. Again, you can take a dumbbell if you want. So first exercise done, which is targeting more the quads. Next exercise is a glute bridge on the floor, which is going to target more the glutes. So third exercise in this little circuit is a cable wood chop, which is for my obliques. So as well as doing a bit of extra core, it's going to be good for some rotation to get my back moving. So feet are square, eyes follow my hands, rotating, trying to use my core, trying to twist from here rather than use my arms. Okay, so 12 each side on that. So 10 each leg on the first exercise, 15 hip bridges, and then 12 each side on the wood chop. I'm going to repeat this circuit 3 times. So we're going to do some upper body movements now, and I've sort of picked these particularly because they allow me to stay in a set position, keep my back nice and safe. I'm going to do a barbell incline press because it's far easier to load up a bar than it is picking up dumbbells, putting them down on the floor. So it's a bit easier on my back. But the same would apply if you were doing like a chest press in the gym. So it just allows me to keep my back in a strong position. I'm not going to go super heavy. I'm just going to go moderate weight, sort of 10 to 12 reps, but focus on keeping my back nice and set, keeping it safe first and foremost. So technique points, take a hold of the bar, set the shoulders back. So you're thinking about pulling the shoulder blades back and together, and then unrack the bar and lift it up. Set those shoulders, and as you're pulling down, think about pulling the bar apart, bring it down to the chest and drive it up. So we don't want to round the shoulders at the top, we just want to go until those arms are locked. So down to the chest with control, drive it up, squeeze the chest at the top. So 10 fairly moderate reps there, and we're going to pair this up with a single arm dumbbell row. So single arm row is a great way of training my back, but keeping my back nice and strong and in a safe position. So I'm going to do it with a bench elevated because it's slightly more comfortable for my back. And I'm going to talk you through some of the teaching points that I like to use to make it as effective as possible. So take a hold of your dumbbell, hand on the bench, good strong position. I'm keeping everything tight here so I'm not slouched. And then rather than lifting up and down, which can mean that you're using quite a lot of arm, I like to think about starting with the dumbbell a little bit further forward and pulling back to the hip. And we want to think about using these muscles in our back. So forward, pull it back to the hip, squeeze at the top, control it back down. And I'm thinking the whole time about keeping my core nice and strong, really bracing this position. I'm going to do 10 each side. So looking at 10 to 12 fairly moderate reps there. I'm deliberately not going heavy because I don't want to risk getting pulled out of position and hurting my back. So remember, first and foremost today, it's about keeping me pain-free and moving safely. And that means definitely sacrificing a bit of weight, but I'm all right with that. So they're the first two exercises, 10 to 12 reps on an incline press, 10 to 12 reps each arm on a single arm row. Repeat that 3 times. Final 3 exercises of the workout, smaller muscle groups. I'm going to do an Arnold press, incline bicep curl, and a rope extension for my triceps. So looking for slightly higher reps, 12 to 15 on these, and again, probably do 2 to 3 rounds of this. Workout done. As you can see, despite my back not being great, there's absolutely loads I could do. Still feel like I got a great workout in. Actually, my back feels a lot better for getting in and getting moving. So I'm going to catch my breath, have a quick drink, and then I'll answer some of your Q&A questions. So let's go through some of these questions. We're going to answer 4 here, and they're all on calories, not surprisingly. So the first one just says macros. So I presume you want to know a bit more about macros. So macros stands for macronutrients. So essentially protein, carbohydrates, and fats that should make up your diet. We used to be big on kind of tracking macros as a way of controlling calories. We now know that it's less important in terms of how many grams of fat and carbs you're having, and what's more important is your total calories, and then second to that is the amount of protein that you're having. So if you want to work out a bit more about how to be in a calorie deficit, I've recorded a video on this. If you search YouTube, how to calculate your calories for fat loss, Robbie Thompson, there's a video on there. And yeah, I would focus more on your total calories and your protein, and then make up whatever remaining calories you have with whatever quantities of carbs and fats that you prefer. Okay, so hopefully that helps. Next question, calorie allowance if it's enough. Like, really good question. So how do you know if you're eating enough and not under eating? So in order to lose fat, of course you want to be in a calorie deficit. But if we undereat too drastically, first of all, from a practical standpoint, you're not going to stick to that diet very long because you're going to be absolutely starving and you're going to give up pretty quick. In terms of indicators that you are probably in too much of a deficit and not eating enough, if your energy's low, if your mood's poor, if your sleep's affected, if your training intensity isn't great, you're not recovering from workouts, there's probably a good sign that you're not eating enough. Okay, so as well as making sure you're in a calorie deficit, keep an eye out for those things, and if you do think that's a problem and that you may be under eating too drastically, perhaps just try bringing your calories up a little bit and assess how things improve from there. Next question, adding calories back into your diet after weight loss. So Vicky's saying she found this harder than cutting them out. And I think I totally get this, I see this a lot. So it's like it's a psychological thing. You've been in a calorie deficit and you're used to controlling your food intake and making sure you're staying, under eating essentially. To then start putting it back in, even though the way it works, if you bring your calories back up to maintenance, that's where you should be able to maintain your body weight. It still feels like, oh, I'm eating too much, I'm gonna pile all that weight back on. So there's no one way with this, and it very much depends on your mindset, but there's what we call reverse dieting, which is where if you think about, you might have reduced your calories as you've gone through a diet, you can then reverse your calories as you move out of it. So you don't just jump your calories up. First of all, it might feel like a bit of a shock to the system, but also mentally, you may feel like, oh, it's too big a change. So you can just maybe try adding in 100 calories, see how your body responds, keep tracking your body weight, your measurements, that sort of thing, and gradually bring those calories back up. And that means if you reach a point where your body weight starts to increase, you can reduce the calories back down slightly. But if you just jump them straight back up, it can feel like a shock to the system, and there is that risk that you will just gain that weight back too quickly. Okay, so slowly, kind of small incremental changes is a good way to go with that. And then final question, trying to remain in a deficit when on shift patterns and starting at 4 a.m. So normally, we'd have a breakfast, we'd have a lunch, we'd have an evening meal, we'd have snacks in between, go to bed at a set time. And staying in a calorie deficit with that kind of day and lifestyle is challenging enough. But when you add in different shift patterns, particularly when you're changing, it can be really difficult. Do you do it on when you go into bed? Do you do it on times of the day? What happens if those times of the day are actually when you're asleep? So yes, working shifts does make it difficult, but there's ways around it. So if let's say you've got a calorie target per day, a good solution to this is to times it by 7. So take your calories per day and take it for the week instead. And therefore, if your shifts kind of mean that some days you eat slightly more and another day you eat slightly less, it doesn't matter. Aim for that total number of calories across the week, and that's a really good way of leveling it out and allowing you to kind of work around those shift patterns but stay in that calorie deficit. Okay, so really good questions. Thank you for sending them in. Hopefully that helped. If you've got any more, post them below and I'll be doing more of these. So I hope that the workout was helpful. You've seen how I've worked around an injury. The main thing I want is for this to kind of give you all the encouragement that having an injury doesn't need to mean that your progress has stopped. So just to kind of give you some examples, if you've hurt your wrist, the chances are you could still do a fair bit of lower body work. You might even be able to do some cardio, particularly machines. Machines are a really good place to focus your attention if you're having an injury because you haven't got to move around with dumbbells and weights. Let's say you've sprained your ankle. Well, you could still do core, you can still do upper body, and probably still a lot of cardio as well. So flip that mindset. Think about what you can do, safely of course, and if in any doubt, always speak to your doctor or your physio, but think about what you can do, look at the areas that aren't injured and what you can do safely, and just realign your expectations. So you might not be going hard out in terms of gaining strength and muscle mass through this period of time, but it doesn't mean that you can't still get all the benefits that come from training. Okay, so if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, leave comments below and let me know what you'd like to see more of. And once my back has repaired itself and I'm back to full health, we'll be definitely doing a lot more of these videos. So thanks for watching and I'll catch you next time.